Hey YouTube, today we're going to show you how to easily, not very easily, but easier than most things, improve the trigger on a Smith and Wesson revolver. And what we have here in front of us, we have a Smith and Wesson. I'm going to show you this not loaded. This is a pre-lock 686. This happens to be a no dash. This is not my gun, folks. I always disclose when I'm borrowing something from somebody, and the gentleman that owns this gun is probably one of the bravest people in the world because he is going to let me take this revolver apart and see if I can improve the trigger to it. He's taking it to a non-qualified gunsmith, and he's going to let the non-qualified gunsmith do this. Now, keep in mind, folks, I'm not a professional video person. I do this for fun, and I do not edit things. So I'm going to show you what it's like to do this in real time. So if this goes a little long or I struggle a little bit, I'm not going to edit it out. So what we're going to use here, we're going to use this spring tune kit, this custom tuned spring kit. This is made by Wilson Combat, and everybody knows I'm a big Wilson Combat fan. What Wilson Combat has done over the years is they have taken stuff that they see there's an issue with, and they figured out how to fix it, and then they manufacture the part and sell it to us folks, us gun folks. And this is the part number for it. This is Wilson Combat 178. This will work on the K, the L, and the N frames. So we're going to get started here, and we're going to take, first of all, we're going to remove these grips off of here. So we're just going to take the grip screw out and remove the grips. Should be fairly simple. One would think, but we'll see. We'll see how bad I struggle here on camera. Folks, you can do stuff like this yourself. I mean, it's not rocket science here to take apart a Smith and Wesson revolver. They're fairly simple on the inside. They're not like a Colt. They're a lot more simpler to work on. But if you don't feel comfortable doing stuff like this, don't do it. Just get a professional gunsmith to do it. So we're going to flip this over, and now we're going to remove the side plate from this revolver. Now it's important that you use the right size screwdrivers. You don't want to slip and scratch the revolver up. So we're going to take all three of these screws out. There's 3 screws that hold the side plate on, and we should be in business. So once you take the screws out, what I like to do, because some of these screws can be different lengths and different sizes and everything, is I like to lay them aside in the order that I took them out so you don't get confused. So we're going to do the left, the middle, and the right screw. Now that we've gotten this far, we need to remove the side plate, and this is where people start getting in trouble and start prying on stuff and everything. What I like to do is I like to take this revolver a little to the side. I'm going to use a rubber mallet, and I'm just going to tap a little bit on the revolver, on the butt of it, and this side plate will free itself with a couple taps and just come right off. Sometimes you may have to help it a little bit, but as you can see, it works itself right off. And once you do that, you can literally pull it off with your fingers. So we're going to set this side plate aside. We're going to set this piece aside. And this is what the inside of a Smith and Wesson revolver looks like. It's fairly simple. It's nowhere near as complicated as like a Colt. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to flip this over, and we're going to pull this cylinder out of the revolver. So this should just slide right out. I say it should slide right out. Give me 1 second here. And we're going to set the cylinder aside. So now we have it stripped all the way down to the frame. So now the next thing we're going to do here is we're going to take, there's a little screw in the side of this frame right here, and this is your tension screw for the mainspring. So we're going to take this thing and we're going to loosen it up. Once again, use the correct screwdriver and everything will go good. And this loosens the tension on the spring. Just loosen it until it does not touch it anymore. And that should allow this mainspring just to come right out of the Smith and Wesson revolver. So I'm going to fish this out here, and we're going to set this aside. That's a factory spring in it. Next thing we're going to do, folks, this gets a little tricky here. So we're going to attempt to remove this trigger return spring out of this revolver. And this is the part that I'm going to cringe on doing this on camera. So we're actually going to take this, we're going to use like a little dental hook. We're going to hook onto this spring here. And we're going to see if we can do this without stabbing ourselves. And we're just going to lift up on this trigger return spring. So give me 1 second here. Take a screwdriver here, and once we get it underneath here, this can be a little tricky, and this is the part that I feared would be hard to do on camera, so I kind of didn't want to do this on camera, but we'll get it figured out. It's not as hard as it looks. Bear with me, folks. We'll get this. We'll get it figured out here. We just got to get this screwdriver up underneath this. There we go. Okay, so basically what we're going to do is we're going to just lift this piece here, and this spring's going to be under a lot of tension. So we're going to lift this out. Just raise it up and hold your finger over the end, because the spring's going to come out with authority when you get it all the way up. So that's what we're looking at here, folks. This spring will shoot out if you're not careful. So we're going to pull this spring out and set it to the side. Now, for the fun part, putting it back together, installing these springs, we're going to open this Wilson Combat kit up. See what we have here in this package. So what I'm going to use here is I'm going to use the longest spring. Comes with the kit. That seems to work the best. It's going to be the number 12, and then I'm going to use their mainspring. So bear with me, let me get this package going. I'm fumbling all around here. Alright, so this is your new mainspring made by Wilson Combat on here, and this is your factory spring. So if you can see, the Wilson Combat one on the right is shaped vastly different, and it's a little bit shorter. And the mainspring, the return spring, is going to be a little bit longer. So makes it a lot more fun to put in, to say the least. So we're going to lift this up here, and we're going to insert the spring in where we pulled the old one out. And this is where it gets fun, folks. I mean, there's not a whole lot to say about this being fun. So I'm going to room this all the way in here, and I'm going to grab it with this dental hook and just pull it down, and it should lower right down in there. It's actually the easiest one I've ever done. And then I'm going to sit there, and I'm going to fish this spring onto the hammer, and I'm going to feed it into the bottom of the revolver frame till it's flush, right, just like that. Then I'm going to take the screwdriver, and I'm going to run the screwdriver in, and I'm going to put tension on the spring. That should do it right there. Now you can adjust this tension with this screw and then put some blue Loctite on it when you get it exactly where you want to get it. But for now, for argument's sake, I think this is going to work just right where we have it. Now, we've got the 2 new springs installed inside the revolver. And like I said, sometimes that small trigger return spring can be a bear. Now we're going to start putting this thing back together, folks. And this is where it can get a little hairy here. So this safety right here that I have right here, we're gonna fish this right on. Whoops. We're gonna fish this right on to this little hook that's on that trigger return. And once you do that, this side plate should line up just how it came off. Now this you do not force this on here. This can be very tricky to do sometimes, and if something's holding it up, it's not right. So if this thing goes on here correctly, this thing should just snap almost in with your fingers. So let's see what we can do here. If anything doesn't feel right when you're working on this stuff, folks, stop and see what's going on with it. If it doesn't snap right together, it's not right. So always remember that. Bear with me for 1 second. Okay, so once you get it snapped on just like that, you're going to take your little rubber mallet and you can just gently tap it so it goes back flush. Very simple to do. Now, we're going to take the cylinder. We're going to insert the cylinder back in. So we'll flip the revolver over. And we're going to take this cylinder here. And this should just slide right back in. And we'll close the cylinder up. Now we're going to put the screws right back in exactly how we removed them. So just left to right, left, middle, and front. All right, now we'll take the correct size screwdriver and tighten down the screws. This thing does not hold the gun together, folks, so keep that in mind. You don't need to torque it to 100 foot-pounds of torque. Just snug them up, really snug. Even Smith and Wesson people can do this. I gotta say that for my Smith and Wesson buddy out there, that he likes them better than Colts, and he knows I'm a Colt guy. Even Smith and Wesson people can handle this. They make it so easy that they make a kit to make your gun what a Colt normally is. So we're gonna work this action, see how it works, and folks, voila, we have a smooth working revolver, and it is unbelievable. So let me put these grips back on real quick, and then I'll try and do a demonstration on camera of how much we improved the trigger pull on this Smith and Wesson. So we'll take these grips here, line these up. These are like Altamont grips or something like that. They look pretty nice on this gun. This guy has real nice stuff that I'm doing this for. He's a real good friend of mine. I'm going to tighten these grips down. And that looks pretty good. And there we have it, folks. Now, if you look at this trigger pull, it is so smooth now. I mean, the Wilson Combat does good stuff. And the double action on this thing, it's just unbelievable how good this thing works. The single action is probably 2 pounds when you pull it, and the double action is probably about 7 pounds. And that's usually where you want a double action pull on a revolver. But anyway, folks, I really hope this helped out doing this. I've got it figured out exactly which ones work the best. But this, once again, this is a Wilson Combat custom tuned spring kit for the Smith and Wesson revolvers, and it works on the K, the L, and the N frames on them. But if you have any questions on this, folks, I don't know if I'm the correct person to ask because I'm not a professional gunsmith, but I do my best to show people some informative videos on how to do little things like this. I never went to school to be a gunsmith, nor am I going to, but I'm not afraid to try anything. Anyway, folks, thank you very much for watching my video today, and you folks have a great day.